Welcome to the Mama Podcast. This week, we're joined by Anna from the fantastic Who We Are organisation, a CIC dedicated to supporting minority ethnic parents navigate the maternity system and beyond in the UK. They really are a fantastic organisation that helps bridge the gap between healthcare professionals and the people who are often neglected or left behind. Please welcome Anna.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Heidi Eldridge, and also the founder and CEO of Mama Academy. Thank you so much for joining us today, Anna. I know you've been on a real journey. You've got a lot to tell us, which we are going to be really interested with. So please, let's just get straight into it. Please share your story with us. Tell us all about you. And what you're up to.
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna, and I'm a mom of two. My boys are 13 and 8 now, so they are off school. So journey. Yes, I think it's a good way of describing it, because when I moved to UK in 2014, it was a journey. We've been moving with my little boy. He was almost 2 at the time, and yeah, it was a big change. It was a big change. We didn't have any family here. We were first of everyone out of our family that actually moved outside of the country. So it was quite a controversial decision, and it was a challenge. It was a challenge. It was a journey how to live in different country where you need to adjust to different culture, but also start living in reality where you use your second language as your first language most of the time. And there's so many different levels and layers to moving and being a migrant family in general. But for maternity perspective, I felt very confused about how the house system works in UK. So it was just kind of like a maze for me. I did not understand why I needed to do certain things, or how to get the support that I needed or my child needed. Simple things like seeing a pediatrician became a difficult challenge, and I quickly learned that it's not something that you can book, and that was of a surprise to me. So access to the healthcare was something that really was challenging for me as I moved, and how to actually find the right resources and educate myself. But it's about everything. It's about how the education system works, and there is so little information for migrant families about how you can actually enroll your child in nursery, what they need to do, and this knowledge is not out there. There's so many confusing messaging, and most current information that I found from friends and family, but it's sometimes not accurate. Things change, and we know as we observe, and you, Heidi, probably too, you observe the system and you see how it's changing. So someone that had their baby maybe 10 years ago will not be the best advisor on how to get health visitor support, or where find the breastfeeding support, or how to enroll your child into the nursery when they are year old or 9 months old. It's just changed, and it's changing so much. So all this information was very vague. Some of them were translated, but then it's really difficult to get follow up. It's not even about the accessing the information, but you don't know what kind of information you want access if you don't know the system. So you don't even know what the questions you should ask or how you should approach the system. So yeah, so we moved here when my son was almost 2, and he started nursery quite soon. Latest that was 11 years ago. At that time, the nursery was only funded if you have been working certain amount of hours from when the child was 3 years old. So there was no funding hours for working families before 3 years old. And then there was a school time when they got 3 hours from 9 till 3 o'clock. But before that, well, if you had a year-old child and wanted to go back to work, you would need to fund that yourself. So it was interesting, and it was just a journey. But I had my baby in Poland, and to be honest, when I came here to UK, I did not plan to have more babies. I was traumatized by the whole experience that I had, and that was the main reason why I didn't want to have another child. um, I had, as you could describe, a straightforward pregnancy and straightforward birth. My birth lasted 5 hours from the start to finish.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the most people reaction, but it was so intense, and that's what we now, as a maternity professional, I often tell to the people that train, is that having short labors not necessarily means they're going to be easier and less painful. So it was a very intense experience, also heavily medicalized, that ended in some damage, and it's just the whole cascade of intervention that I had. I had problem with the hips later, so I couldn't walk for 6 weeks. I couldn't, go for a first walk. I think I remember this moment when my son went with my husband for a first walk, and I could just observe from the window, and that was heartbreaking. I'm still have shivers when I think about it, because it was just so damaging to my mental health that I can't take care of my child because I'm not mobile fully still so many weeks after delivery. So I was very angry, I think. And then because of this and lack of support, I didn't reach my breastfeeding goals. And that made me really angry. Because I soon educate myself on how the breastfeeding physiology works, and I understand that there was nothing wrong with me, nothing wrong with the baby. It's just I had expectations that couldn't be met at all, and those expectations were put on me, like that was not something that I was prepared for. So I wasn't prepared for managing those expectations for myself as well. So it got me really angry. So when I came here, I was um, I was definitely not planning another child. I was just totally lost in the sea of information, and I kind of got to the point when I was at peace with having just one child. And it was on one of the stay and play sessions when I went to children's center, when I met this lady. Let's call her Sharon. And Sharon came to the stay and play with 5-day-old baby in a wrap, and she just came in, unwrapped the baby, put the baby on the mat, and told us that she's 5 days, and everyone was just happy, and everyone just accepted it. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, what is going on? Like, what this woman is doing here? Why she can walk and look like that? Like, what is going on? This is crazy. I thought this is crazy. And then she started talking about her birth. So she had a home birth, and I was like, oh, that's so crazy. Like some kind of cold or something. I had no experience of that. I had no knowledge of midwifery care, home births, nothing. Like the system in Poland doesn't have it. So I was like not exposed to this information. So I thought, this is like, where am I? Like, is that, like, my thinking was very, it was interesting. It was so challenging, because I was thinking, like, what's going on? Like, why this person on purpose giving birth outside of the hospital? Like, Like, why would you do it?
Couldn't
You
get your
could
head around
die.
it because you've not heard of that before.
Exactly. So I was like, she could die. I remember myself, how I felt and how I was treated in the hospital, like how medicalized it was. And I was like, your baby could die. You could die. Like, it was, oh my God. So, like, how I was there. This was my mindset. I was terrified. And then we had a chat and I went back home and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was so jealous. You can't believe the level of jealousy that I had because I couldn't move after my birth. I couldn't walk. I couldn't feed my baby. I couldn't change the diapers. I was just so angry then, and I was so jealous because she was just happy to be a mum, and she was just doing normal mummy things, just in this expectations on what you do when you become a mum, and I was just so jealous and I couldn't stop thinking. And slowly, the seed, I started reading and looking into that. And I found, and that's why I love the space where you can meet other mums. So you can also challenge a bit more your perception because basically that's what happened to me. Like I was so in so different mindset. Like you wouldn't imagine those 9 years ago, like it would I was just different person. So, and she convinced me, like, no, maybe not, she didn't convince me, but I was like, okay, like I can't believe it, like this is not possible. But I started thinking about it and reading more, and I thought to myself, if so many women can do it, like it can look differently, it can feel differently, like maybe I can do it too. And I had this little fire inside, saying, "Ah, you can do it." Like I always wanted to have more children. So it was a bit, it was heartbreaking that I was in the position that I couldn't. So it gave me my power back, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, and it's really heartwarming for me to hear because we take so many things for granted, and here in the UK, there's a lot of problems with the NHS. But actually, you've just highlighted some of the really good things. And I had no idea that, say, home births, for example, weren't an option and weren't talked about in Poland. So that's really, really interesting. So just to go back a little bit,
yeah.
why did you and your husband decide to move to the UK from Poland? What brought you here? If you didn't have any family, was it work? What brought you to the UK?
I think it was a mix of different situations. So one thing is definitely the fact that we, for a really long time in Poland, we had a very uh, right-wing conservative government, and I don't think that is something that me and my husband, that's not the values that we represent as well. So we weren't really matching the attitudes, if you can say. But also, I think there's just the the way of living was something that we were looking into as well. So we had friends, and one of the things that my friend told me, because they had a small child as well when they moved here, and then they had a baby, and so when I spoke with her, she said the main reason why she's staying in UK is how we've how British people, how English people value the work-life balance, which now it's a hype saying, but in 2011, 14, you wouldn't really, like, it wasn't something that you would discuss at the team meetings or something like that, but it was existing within the culture of how people work and how they have families. And I think you some of your listeners might know or not, but Polish people are hardworking people, but it's because also part of the culture that we do work really hard. And I, as I had a small child, I had a good position in the big organization that I worked, my husband as well. we just bought an apartment in a big city. So I'm from near Gdańsk. Some of your listeners might know where it is. It's a seaside, lovely. It's a big city. We had an apartment near national forest. So it was all great, but we were lacking really work-life balance. So long hours, some additional hours, some Saturdays, even in those corporate jobs that we had. So it wasn't shifts, it was normal corporate positions within administration and management, but it was really long hours. And when I had my child, I couldn't imagine. So how are we gonna how I'm gonna cope with both of these things? And because my background is in education, so I have a degree in education from Poland, it was extremely difficult for me to put those two together. So all the things that I know about how kids and how children are growing and flourishing in what kind of environment they need, and the reality of being at work from 7 8 a.m. to 7 8 p.m. It was just not matching the energy. So yeah, so I think that what we valued, and that why we looked into moving, because of how you guys value this work-life balance, to be able to come back, make a dinner, and still have some time to spend with your families. I know that it's not always possible, but it's definitely something that we could feel that you, as a population, you will try to get to that point, that's your value. So yeah, so it definitely that's changed. So we that was kind of one of our goals, and it happened. So yeah, so that's why what we did.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that, because that's really helpful to understand. So forward again, you weren't expecting to have another child, and then suddenly you've gone to this toddler group, and you were inspired by what could be a positive birth experience.
Yes.
So what happened after that?
Yeah, so we had a conversation together as a family, and we decided to have a baby. Unfortunately, I got pregnant, so I have also problems with thyroid. So was the first time also when I got a bit of a clash with our NHS, and because it was not, I knew that I had a underactive thyroid. I was always treated. Unfortunately, here in UK, the range for treating thyroid issues and all other hormonal issues for women are, it's difficult to get diagnosis and treatment, and we know that from various research on thyroid, fertility, or even endometriosis. It's the length of the time. So I feel like at some point I've been let down a bit by the local GP practice. They were not concerned where they should. So with the underactive thyroid, it's not the issue that much to get pregnant, but it's how to keep that pregnancy. It's often challenging for people with thyroid problems. So that's how I learned that it's in pregnancy. If you have thyroid issues, you should be under investigation. Someone should keep a close eye on you, not from 20 weeks when I had my first scheduled consultant appointment, but from the very beginning, because I got my scheduled appointment for 21 weeks, I think, and I lost pregnancy in 12. So it was just not, it was not soon enough to address that I have some issues with hormonal imbalance. So yes, so I went for my first 10-week appointment, um, and saw a lovely midwife, and she was just amazing, and she was from the home birth team. So I already had a first chat with her that this is what I want to do. I was so excited, and she was very accommodating. She said it's very early.
Is
Yeah.
this with the next pregnancy?
No, that's for the one that I lost. So
Okay.
yeah, so she was very accommodating, even though it was very early. She already had, okay, we can definitely talk about it, and you were a great candidate because you had some complications after pregnancy, but you had natural spontaneous labor, so you're a great candidate for the home birth. So I was 11 weeks when I decided to travel home. I thought I'm like in a safe time to do the travel now. It's usually recommended around 12 weeks. So I traveled home and I saw my my previous gynecologist, because in Poland you would see gynecologists for your pregnancy, which at the visit you have ultrasound, all the tests, whatever you need. So that was in the class. Like every year we will have smear tests, or we will have every second year we can have breast ultrasounds as well, because if you're too young for mammograph, then you can have ultrasound. So I had all of this, and unfortunately at this visit that I thought was going to be very routine visit, I was so happy and just kind of enjoying my life, I got the bad news. And it was traumatic more because I couldn't leave country, so I need to actually stay in Poland. And because it was a missed miscarriage, which I don't think many people are talking about how devastating it is, because you have still all the symptoms and there is no symptoms telling you that your baby died at some point, and you still can feel a bit more hormonal. So I had, bloating, tender breasts, stuff like that. It was still there. So I was like, what are you saying? It's not true. I feel all the symptoms. There was no bleeding, there was no spotting, nothing. So yeah, so I couldn't leave because they were not advising me to fly in my condition. So I needed to have my baby in Poland, which was a bit traumatizing because I didn't live there at the time. So you can imagine having a baby, having miscarriage, having induction then, because I had induction, while you're visiting your mother-in-law, basically. So it's not ideal. Yeah, and I came back and I called my midwife, I told her about it. I had a visit booked in, and I think something that I also didn't expect it was then I was offered some support from a mental health team. At the time, I didn't use it. I think it was a bit like, oh, there's a link, you can use this support, and it's like I don't think I need it. Um, but yeah, but then because I had induction, I didn't have any complications, and I got a green light to start as soon as possible. So I didn't have the DNC. Is it DNC called? So I didn't have it. So I was given a green light to start from as soon as possible. And I got pregnant, I think 4 months after. But this time I kind of knew what to do. I've been already told by my gynecologist back home to act as soon as possible, because I was on the meds, so I should have increased those. I should push for the visit and seeing consultant as soon as possible, not 6 months later, but as soon as possible, this kind of thing. So I was prepared to advocate for myself, but this is not information that you will find anywhere. It's very difficult. However, if someone is listening and have a thyroid issue, there is amazing British Thyroid Association that have all those guidelines that you can print out and take with you on your GP appointment, which I did, and that's how I advocated for myself, because it have range of so if you have your results, you can see what is the recommended range for for a woman in the childbearing years and pregnant woman, which is not matching with what the GP clinics usually have, and that is the guidelines from the British Thyroid Association. So it's national one. Yeah, so I was pregnant and I met with the midwife, and that was the same midwife that I had before, which was so amazing. And I think it kind of like helped me as well to heal, because we had this initial conversation. Yeah. So I had a baby. I planned the home birth from the beginning. My pregnancy was okay. I knew that it's going to be another boy because it was exactly the same pregnancy. It was just the same symptoms at the same time. the same weight gain. It's just the same. You can tell it. I feel like a woman can tell it if it's a boy or a girl. So it was they basically the same. So I knew. Yeah, and then I had a baby. I had a baby at home. I got a pull from the midwifery team, so it was amazing. So when I was pregnant with my youngest child, um, I was reading lots of books, and I remember sometimes I was already educating myself, and this is how I found doulas through those books that I was reading. And I said to my husband, I want to become one. But he was like, oh, but you're pregnant. Let's just wait until you have a baby. So I thought to myself, yeah, I'm going to check if all those things that I read, like checking out, is that really true? About how you can cope with the pain, about breathing, about all the stages, about the transitions, about how to go through the birth and feel empowered. So I was basically testing my own learning and theory, and I did it, and I remember at some of the appointments that I had with the midwife, there were student midwives, and I also borrowed them some books, because they were really interested in that.
Yeah, so you lent them the books to read up all. Was that
Yeah,
like hypnobirthing and
more about midwifery, traditional midwifery, about physiology. I read a lot of. I went really deep into that. I read some traditional midwifery books from States and from France. I read Michelle Dent, Ina May Gasking. The most, I think, read book is Positive Birth book, Millie Hill, very known. But there are some other great authors that they are out there.
know
And
me
yeah,
really well actually. Um, did you read them all in English?
yes.
That's amazing. So how did you navigate the system when English wasn't your first language? Because that's what I'd love to know.
Well, because when I work in Poland, I worked in international cooperation. I always struggled with English because um, if I wanted more from my work, I wanted more from my job. So you can say that's another reason why we moved with our family, because I remember how much I struggled to get a better position. Most of the positions that were higher were the ones where you had direct contact with the clients, English speaking clients. With If I didn't have my English wouldn't be fluid and smooth, then I was just, that was a barrier for me to actually achieve better than I wanted, to get promotion and to get into those higher paying jobs. So thinking about my children, I was thinking about that, having being bilingual, not also open up a world to you, so they can work and live wherever they want in the world. But then also how the bilingual brain, as I said, I had a degree in education. The bilingual, being bilingual also supports your brain development, and there's research to say that bilingual children are also better in science and math and physics. There's some kind of connection there. So it was all those things, but it was, in beginning it was difficult, but because I'm a very curious person, I just pushed myself. So I got to that stay in place because when I moved, I found Sure Start children's center, and I went in and I asked for English classes, and they didn't have any. So they were saying, you can go for ESOL, to the college, but actually I remember one of the volunteers asked me, would you like to volunteer? Because like 90% of the ladies that are coming and the families that are coming, the English is the first language. So would you like to volunteer? That will be the quickest way. You can, help with the stay and play, clean the tables, put the toys out, have a chat with mums, and I agreed. And I think it was like a really fast track English lessons because I had no choice. I needed to speak to them if I needed something, and then I obviously started working. So So I was kind of like pushing myself, and I think that's really important if for the migrant families to try to go out there. And you don't necessarily need to pay for English courses. You can do volunteering, and I feel like volunteering is a great way to not to find new people, to challenge yourself, to learn another language, learn lots of different new skills like I did. So navigating was interesting because one thing is not knowing the system, and second is not being able to explain what I want. And also Polish people are sometimes view as rude because we do translation one-to-one, so we don't have all those politeness in our vocabulary. So when I say sit down, it not necessarily means that it's like sit down, but it's like we don't have all this politeness in the language. So if you're translating it one-to-one, it's gonna come out without the please would you sit down, or could you sit down. It's not gonna it's not gonna come up with all those things. So
That's
sometimes
really helpful to know, actually, how the direct translation works.
yes, it does. So when I worked with Maternity Voices Partnership, I had this conversation with the hospital. They asked me to visit the hospital as a first time, and go around the world and see how the signage and just how I move around the hospital. And the most interesting thing is you often call labor suit. It doesn't translate to anything. Like labor suit for us is like I think I would translate it directly to like ensuite, or maybe even those those fancy first class lodges in at the airports. So it's like it doesn't really
Yeah,
translate.
like a lounge, because
Yes,
there's a suite in a hotel
yes,
would be quite a prestigious room that you would stay in.
yeah,
You
yeah,
would upgrade yourself from a room to a suite.
yes. It's also with the labor, like we mix in Poland American English with British English very often. So labor, it's it can also feel like okay, like work. So it doesn't like it's not the first, it's not direct translation. It doesn't have birth unit. It's much better. Also, when I entered the parking, there was a sign delivery suit, and I was driving and I see delivery suit, and I'm like, is that for me or is that for lorries?
Yes, of course.
Because like, is it
That's
deliveries
interesting.
or is it like what is it? So even like at that point, I was much better with deciphering all those different possibilities within the language. Then it still kind of got me like, oh, is it the lorries and delivery guys, or is it me? Okay, no, it's me. I need to park here. So those kind of
So
things.
helpful. So birthing would be a much better
Yes.
wording then, because we understood about the word antenatal. Antenatal doesn't translate very well in certain
No.
languages. And so we've made some changes to our website because
Yeah.
of that. So that's really helpful feedback, because I can now go through the website and change everything to do with delivery and labor to
Yeah.
birthing, because that obviously makes more sense.
Yeah, that would be great because it helps with, also it will help you if you are using some AI tools to translate. If you use delivery or labor, it not necessarily might translate to birthing, because it's not, sometimes when I
Mm.
use when organizations use Google Translate, they sometimes get work suit, or they're gonna get like delivery, like as a package delivery. So yeah, so it might be useful. But yeah, but that was those little things, and then obviously there are some more difficult things that you want to explain. And I think there's this cultural thing when, and I believe, and that's my experience, and the experience that I witnessed when I work with Polish parents, is that if we say, because of the direct translation one-to-one, if we say, I want to breastfeed, or if even we say I would like to try breastfeeding, that translates to I would like to try breastfeeding. It doesn't mean if it's not working out, I'm fine with bottle, because then when we hear, and I had this conversation with women many times when they were saying, and the midwife said to me, that's fine, not everyone can breastfeed, you'll be okay, happy mom, happy baby. But that's not what they said. They said, I want to try, I want to give it a go. So that translates 1-to-1. This is what they want to focus. So it's really, it's very unusual for us that we need to tell the health professionals what to do. So we're not like, it's not something that you do in Poland. You don't tell them what to
Yeah.
do.
Well, here we would take their authority.
But they often don't tell you anything. Like, they will, if you're birthing, then they're going to say to you, like, if our clients are saying to us, they were asking midwives what to do, and the midwives were saying to them, you're doing fine, just go with your body. I don't know what to do. So we are used to having directions. So if I say in Poland, I want to try breastfeeding, then the midwife will say, okay, in Poland, okay, let's try this position, this position, this position. If I say this in UK, I might get, that's okay, you're doing fine, just taking one day at a time. It's very confusing. That's not what I said, you know. So that's what I'm saying. It,
Yeah, I think we probably beat around the bush too much.
like, turn around and around and in
Yeah,
circles. I'm like,
yeah,
what do you mean?
definitely.
Like, what do you mean I'm doing fine? I'm not doing fine. Like, yes. So I think that's the difference that I needed to overcome. So I need to actively advocate for myself. So when I go to the GP, I'm not gonna say my head hurts. I'm gonna say my head hurts, but I think it's because I'm not sleeping well. Would you be able to check my hormone levels because I'm not sleeping well? So I need to go deeper into that. I can't just say, I don't know, my leg hurts, and then the doctor saying, oh, because maybe it's because you're 45 or something, and that's the age when your knees are starting to hurt. No, maybe because I'm running a lot, and I just start running. I'm doing my first 5K, and maybe that's the problem. So it's kind of like, you need to really get
Yeah,
out there.
get the details out and be more specific. That is so helpful. That's really helpful for me because I think I probably beat around the bush with things far too much. So you touched a little bit about you joined your local MVP, which is brilliant. How did you start up Polish Village? How did that come about?
In 2016, I joined this just to stay and play as a volunteer, and then because my breastfeeding journey with my first child ended before I planned, and there was lots of breastfeeding grief around that. So one of the health visitors asked me, "Would you like to train as a breastfeeding peer supporter?" Because I had a lot of knowledge at that point. I educate myself after stopping. Um, and I said, yeah, that's great. So I became a breastfeeding peer support in a children's center in 2016. And then also perinatal mental health peer supporter in a children's center, and got pregnant, had a baby in January 2017, and then went for the doula course in um, in the middle of 2020. So my son was 7 months when I did doula course. I was very like, I was convinced that yes, exactly, this is why I tried it. So I learned about it. I tried it. It worked, and it's going to work for everyone. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And I was at this stage when I wanted to shout out of the rooftops and saying like, this is amazing. Like, you can do it. Like, it don't need to look like this. You don't need to suffer. You can be happy. Your breastfeeding can go much better if you have the start, the push from the birth and this experience and your attitude to kind of. So I was on that really advocating and shouting about this experience point. But basically, the Polish Village started in 2017 when my son was waking up frequently for the night feeds, and I thought to myself, oh my god, like I don't know what to do. And also, he was not the great feeder. Like, when he needed a bit support, when he was getting on the breast, and then I needed to put a light on. I needed to actually be awake. Unfortunately, he was not, for a really long time, he was not one of the babies that would just attach and you can just go to sleep. I had like a whole structure, and sit down, or sometimes had a little light so I can see what he's doing, because he was just quite fussy on the breast. So I created this Facebook group for Polish mums that is called "I'm not sleeping because I'm breastfeeding." It's "I'm not sleeping because I'm breastfeeding," which is like kind of funny saying, but it sounds more funny in Polish. So it was night group basically for all the mums that are not sleeping, and we talked mostly about TV shows and books and what to cook for the dinner for next day. Just those random conversations that you have at 3 a.m. about what all those laundry they need to do, all those funny things. But women are feeling sometimes so lonely when they're doing this, so it was a way of connecting with other moms. They are doing the same at the same time, which was important to me at the time. So the group grew very fast, and we started meeting. I started doing meetings before it got even very popular, before COVID. I think it was 2019, we did start it on Skype, which is non-existent anymore, which is ridiculous, but that's it. So we had a Milky Mornings sessions weekly, where we could just have a cuppa and just chat, talk about things, like breastfeeding sessions in the children's center, but online. So that kind of how it started. And then when I worked with MVP, first like a volunteer, then MVP chair, and then as a project officer for the MVP. As my children were growing, I could take more responsibilities as well. I met Manisha, who was doing exactly the same things for the community, but for Muslim community. And we did 15 steps for maternity, which is really good, interesting initiative where you, as a volunteers, you enter the hospital, because there is this saying, I'm so sorry, but I cannot remember who said it. I was a mum that had a baby, I think in the neonatal unit, but we can do a fact check later. And she said that she can feel what kind of care her baby and her are going to receive after those 15 steps that she's making into the ward. So looking around, seeing what's going on, she can already say what kind of care she's going to get. And it's powerful because it's true. It's true. You can see that if I'm coming in and there's like no one is welcoming me, everyone is just rushing, there's no one there, the phone is calling and there's no one answering. On the walls there's some old posters, they're just kind of halfly ripped. You can tell what kind of care you're going to get. Rushed, and it's going to be gaps, it's going to be difficult to get the consultant in the room. It's the predictions that you make as a mom. So we did that. We were walking through the labor ward, postnatal ward, antenatal ward, and we were making those notes about how we feel, how it makes us feel. That's kind of like this kind of project we did with the local hospital in Nottingham and in Mansfield. And yeah, that's how I noticed delivery and labor suits. But even things like you have these long corridors, and if you pop your head out for bathroom toilets, if they don't have those sticking out toilet signs, you can't really estimate how far is a toilet. And as a young mom, for example, if you're your first child and you're a postnatal unit or you are on NICU, it's important for me to know how long it will take me to go in and out. I know it sounds silly, but I think for every mom that had the baby in this little basket next to your bed, they just fall asleep, and you have like around approximately 5 minutes before they were. You want to know how far it is. So we got this. We got the hospital to get those sticking out signs, so you can estimate where the toilets are. That's so simple. So that's how I met Manisha. she was working for Muslim community. I was working for Polish community already with Milky Morning, Stay in Place, stuff like that. And we talked about our projects, and I said I was thinking about just incorporating it, making it official as an organization. And she said that she wanted doing that as well, but it seems overwhelming. So we decided to do it ourselves, like together. So it's not doesn't feel like lonely. So we might be actually the only Polish Muslim organization in the world, but because we share the same goal, we support women who are going through the maternity system. It just works, and we support each other. So yeah, that's how Support Me was born.
It's amazing. And I've obviously met Manisha. She introduced me to you, and she was telling me all about the work of Support Me. And I'm going to be doing another podcast session with Manisha very, very soon. So she can obviously tell her story and give us her perspective. But what is your sort of prime goal for Support Me that you're doing? Obviously, I'll speak to Manisha, but what is it that you bring to the table?
Yeah, so for me, it's really important. I believe in continuity of care, and I feel it's very difficult to provide that through the NHS. And I'm realist. Maybe that's because I'm from Eastern Europe or post-communist country, but just I'm realist, and I know that it's something that NHS services will struggle. That's why we want to work with NHS services and maternity professionals. We want to work with them because I believe that Support Me can be one-stop shop for migrant families when they start pregnancy, when from the fertility, pregnancy, birth, postnatal, and breastfeeding. So if we can work on this triangle, not we and family, but we and family and health professional, and even maybe health professionals with us to enhance the care for the family. So this triangle kind of goes all the ways, it connects and it meets at all the points. I think that's my goal for organization, that we can close working really, really close with the health professionals. And we incorporated in 2021. We are 4 years in, and we're just starting to make some connections, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult. There's this caution for external organizations, and I get that. So we're not giving up. And there's so many organizations that we talked before that they said to us, there's no point, because the NHS services, they're very closed, and they don't want to work with external organizations, especially with the doulas. There's lots of different myths and opinions. I get that. We're just humans. We everyone makes mistakes, so it's normal, and I get that. But I think what is different about us, that we're not giving up, and we're constantly having conversation with trusts, with individual professionals, with refugees, asylum seekers, specialist midwives. Kind of, we're gonna keep going, because that's our goal. To not only work with families, but actually work with the midwives that work with those families. Yeah.
Well, I think you're doing an incredible job, Anna. You're doing all of this stuff, supporting so many families whilst being a doula as well. Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. But thank you for joining us today. I could talk to you all day. I've learned.
It's a huge topic. We could talk a lot. Yeah, I know. There's so much to do. But I feel like there's so many great organizations, and we've worked with so many great professionals, NHS professionals, consultants, midwives, nurses, health visitors, and they really love their families and they love the jobs, and it's I love to seeing their passion. So we are there to help them as well.
It's fabulous. Thank you so much for everything you do. So how can people find you? So I know there's a couple of websites that people can go to. There's the Polish Village and there's the Support Me one. What are the websites?
I think if you are English speaking, then Support Me is the best way, because it's in English. But if you want to direct people to the Polish Village, polishvillage.org is completely in Polish. So yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. And what's the website for Support Me?
So it's supportmecic.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Anna. I'm sure our paths are going to cross in the future because no doubt we'll do more work together. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your week. Take good care of yourself, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Bye.
If you enjoyed listening to this episode, share it with a friend or colleague. Make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on our next episode. If you'd like to support our work by fundraising or volunteering, please email contact@mamaacademy.org.uk. For more information on pregnancy and maternity services, please visit our website at www.mamaacademy.org.uk. We're also on all of your favourite social media channels. See you next time!